Donald Trump is easily the weakest president in American history, and that is exactly why his trip to China was always destined to be a disaster. We knew he would be humiliated before he even stepped foot in Beijing, and frankly, once he arrived, it only got worse. That is exactly what we witnessed as President Xi and Donald Trump met today. Trump humiliated himself in a way that would have every single conservative screaming in outrage if his name wasn't Donald Trump and if they weren't all trapped in a cult. But I want to dive into the meeting itself and show you how Donald Trump has already seen his big deal blown up as he continues to hemorrhage leverage to the Chinese. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now there is so much we have to cover in this video, but I want to start where the trip actually began, with an arrival that should have left Trump humiliated. And trust me, he is furious about it. We're going to get into all of that, but it begins with Jessica Tarlov's breakdown right here, which is crucial for understanding why the deal Trump is desperate for is already being shut down.
The Chinese obviously knows how Donald Trump likes to be greeted. He wants a parade, he likes the fanfare, it puts him in a good mood. The world leaders that get along with him all know. They call him daddy or whatever you got to do to get through it. So the Chinese definitely got the memo on that. I think Jillian's point on AI is super important, all this. I don't really know how you collaborate with the Chinese when all they want to do is steal all of our secrets. But obviously, he brought these CEOs there for a reason. I want to talk about one of them in particular, the NVIDIA CEO, because it was rumored that he wasn't going to come, and then they picked him up in Alaska on a
Jensen Huang.
And that's all about the chips. So the Biden administration was against selling our high-level chips to the Chinese. They said it was a national security threat. President Trump reversed that position, and a lot of people disagree with that. And not only did Jensen Huang lobby for that, he wants the Chinese to buy even more of his chips. So he's there to make a deal. Donald Trump is there to make a deal on that, perhaps, but also several other points on the tariffs. He needs to sell more soybeans. Farmers are getting crushed in America right now. We have record high bankruptcies. They're saying, we can't stay in business unless we can sell to the Chinese again at the levels from before the tariffs.
So to be fair, China did put on a bit of a show for Donald Trump. There was the usual pomp and circumstance, all the optics they knew he'd crave. But there were some key figures conspicuously missing from the lineup, and that has Donald Trump absolutely furious. Something we're going to dive into a bit later in this video. But more importantly, this entire display just demonstrates his immense weakness. First, the fact that high-ranking officials didn't even bother to show up speaks volumes. And second, it shows that the Chinese leadership knows exactly how to play Donald Trump. They realize all it takes to distract him is a little parade and some stage celebration. That's his price. And we know this is true because Donald Trump basically admitted it himself. There were even children performing outside the meeting that Trump and Xi Jinping held only moments ago. And how did Donald Trump choose to begin this meeting? A meeting where his grand deal is already falling apart and he's actively humiliating himself? He did what he seemingly always does. He made a weird, uncomfortable comment about the children.
Well, President Xi, I want to thank you very much. First of all, that was an honor like few have ever seen before. And I think I was particularly impressed by those children. They were happy. They were beautiful. The military is obvious. It couldn't be better, but those children were amazing and they represent so much. And I know they represent so much to you.
So Donald Trump had an arrival in Beijing that was far from impressive. It was a total humiliation from the jump. Then he arrives at this critical meeting and starts making those bizarre comments about children, as he always seems to do in the most uncomfortable ways. The internet is already reacting to it. One user on X wrote, "Given everything we've seen in the Epstein files, Trump talking about children being beautiful is giving me the absolute ick." I'd have to agree. Donald Trump saying he was impressed by the children is just classic weird Trump. It's unsettling. But then we get to the actual substance, the meeting itself and the negotiations for a deal that we already know Donald Trump isn't going to secure. And why? Because he is weak and China knows exactly how to handle him. That is the reporting coming in right now. We're going to get into the rest of what was said in this meeting. Stuff that would have every conservative in this country furious if they weren't such blatant hypocrites. Harry Sisson wrote on Twitter moments ago, Trump's China trip has already backfired pretty badly on him. She didn't greet him at the airport. The Washington Post is reporting that an analysis has been produced for the Joint Chiefs of Staff on China's growing strength over the US, in part because of the Iran war. The admin is already lowering expectations for a deal, and they haven't even started negotiating yet. And the Washington Post is also reporting that Trump may abandon Taiwan just to secure a bad deal. So Donald Trump is losing positioning in a deal that hasn't even started to be negotiated, and he's already losing the deal. It's insane. The New York Times is also reporting, with this new information coming out, why Xi doesn't need a deal with Trump. President Xi Jinping of China is buying time for Beijing and may see an opening with the US president weakened by the war in Iran. So the takeaway right now is Donald Trump's not even getting the deal that he wants. He might not get a deal at all. This, of course, comes as Trump is reportedly humiliated after rival leader Xi Jinping snubs him at the airport. Rocky start. Donald Trump, as we saw, landed in Beijing, China on Wednesday ahead of his high-stakes summit with Xi Jinping. But critics soon noticed a key figure was absent during Trump's arrival, Xi Jinping himself. So the reporting coming in is that Donald Trump is either not going to get the deal he wants or he's not going to get a deal at all. Now, this is especially significant when you consider that Trump just called off a second round of negotiations with Iran. Why? Because he was supposedly furious at the idea of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, two guys who don't even hold official government roles, having to fly out there. It's not like these guys have busy lives, especially Kushner. The man has nothing going on besides grifting off his family name and his proximity to power. Trump claimed, "This is too far, this is too long, we don't even know if we're getting a deal." Well, look at what's happening right now in China. This time, it's Trump himself who had to make the flight, not Kushner. So how does that look? The administration is already trying to move the goalposts on what they actually expected from this trip. At the same time, Xi Jinping is making it very publicly clear that China doesn't need a deal right now. They can afford to stall, and honestly, stalling works great for them. This is all happening while a hearing today confirmed that China is outpacing us on energy, transportation, AI, and tech. Yet Donald Trump can't get a single thing done. He doesn't even know what kind of deal he wants. All he knows is that he wants some big splashy fanfare. But Xi Jinping wouldn't even give him the dignity of greeting him at the airport. That is the absolute weakness of Donald Trump's position. And look, Republicans would be absolutely livid about this if it were anyone else. These are the same China hawks who are constantly mongering and trying to keep everyone in a state of fear. Now, I'm not saying there aren't things to worry about regarding China, but the way Republicans frame it is often just overblown propaganda. It was actually funny watching Bayer reporting from China today, talking about the surveillance state and the surveillance apparatus. I'm like, bro, have you ever heard of Palantir? Have you seen the data sweeps ICE is conducting across the United States? Donald Trump wants all of our personal information too, and he wants to hand it over to a handful of tech oligarchs. So let's not pretend the US doesn't have its own surveillance issues. But again, Donald Trump is supposed to be the big, strong, tough guy. So how did it actually go once he got into the room for the meeting? Well, let's look at the reality. Josh Hawley told Sean Hannity, of course this is the Republican senator, China was begging Trump to come to Beijing. I don't know if that's true. We need to stay tough on China, and I suspect Trump will do just that. But listen to Donald Trump. Does this sound tough to you?
We've had a fantastic relationship. We've gotten along. When there were difficulties, we worked it out. I would call you and you would call me, and whenever we had a problem, people don't know, whenever we had a problem, we worked that out very quickly. And we're going to have a fantastic future together. Such respect for China, the job you've done. You're a great leader. I say it to everybody, you're a great leader. Sometimes people don't like me saying it, but I say it anyway because it's true. I only say the truth. And I just want to say, on behalf of all of the great delegation that we have the greatest businessmen, the biggest, and I guess the best in the world. We have amazing people, and they're all with me. Every single one of them, we asked the top 30 in the world, every single one of them said yes. And I didn't want the second or the third in the company. I wanted only the top. And they're here today to pay respects to you and to China. And they look forward to trade and doing business. And it's going to be totally reciprocal on our behalf. So I really look very much forward to our discussion. It's a big discussion. There are those that say this is maybe the biggest summit ever. They can never remember anything like it. I can say in the United States, people aren't talking about anything else. But it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend. And the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, President Xi, I love you. And I think you're a fantastic guy. People don't like me saying that, but I'm going to say it anyway. I love you. Can I get a little smoocheroo? You're taking a deal off the table? Doesn't matter. Love you. You, me, we love. There's so much love. Does that look powerful to you, Josh Hawley? Does that look strong and tough and America first? No, it doesn't. But Hawley isn't going to say a word. None of these Republicans will. There are few China hawks bigger than Josh Hawley, yet he's got absolutely nothing to say about Donald Trump presenting complete and utter weakness today, while a potential deal evaporates into thin air. And the only other deal Donald Trump is actually pushing for is this $1 trillion plan to let China build manufacturing plants on our soil. Supposedly, this is investing in America, but in reality, it would just hand them even more power over our economy. Even Republicans are sounding the alarm on this. Marjorie Taylor Greene is against it, Laura Ingraham is against it. So can someone please explain to me, what exactly is Trump's big win here? Because from where I'm sitting, there isn't one. Meanwhile, back home on Capitol Hill, Democrats are rightfully bringing up the 25th Amendment again. There is a very real fear that Donald Trump might literally start falling asleep in these high-stakes meetings. Congresswoman Yasamin Ansari has done an incredible job, better than almost anyone else in Congress, at keeping the focus on the fact that the president is in a state of deep cognitive and physical decline. But she's not alone. Other Democrats are now chiming in, voicing their fears about the massive national security implications of having a complete madman in the Oval Office.
Got it. How big of a factor is this cognitive decline, given kind of like what we've been seeing, in the lead up to this China trip?
I mean, Donald Trump is so unwell. The fact that the President of the United States spends every single night from the span of midnight to 3 to 4 a.m. on Truth Social creating AI slop, it's unbelievable. And I think that's why you're seeing more and more people call for the 25th Amendment and just recognize that he is unfit to be president, let alone any sort of leadership position in any capacity in this country.
Got it. Thank you, Congresswoman.
So let's summarize this China trip so far. We were all worried that Donald Trump was going to fall asleep in these meetings, and honestly, that remains to be seen. He was greeted by absolutely nobody at the airport. Total, complete humiliation right off the bat. Then he goes in and calls Xi the greatest, says we love you, calls him a fantastic dictator, and says that's all fine. Oh, and of course, we love the kids are great too. And meanwhile, the actual deal, it's evaporating into thin air. Do we call that a win? Do we call that so much strength? Because I certainly don't. That is not what strength looks like. We are going to continue to cover all of this on the show. I'll be back in the home studio later tomorrow. I'm still out here in LA, had a great time catching up with my friends at Crooked Media today. It's been great seeing everyone across Los Angeles. I saw Jennifer Welch, and while Brian Tyler Cohen and I didn't get to collab in person this time, Brian, we've got to do better next time. I still love you, man. We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll make it happen tomorrow. We'll see. But we are going to be back. I really appreciate you all being patient with the temporary studio setup and all that nonsense. We'll be back in the main studio tomorrow. See you then. Hit that subscribe button, y'all. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'm Liam Prescott, and I'll see you in the next one.